Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another review. And now I'm taking a look at Super Mario All-Stars for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which effectively redresses the 8-bit classic Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2, aka Super Mario USA, more about that later, and Super Mario Brothers 3. And also includes, for the first time outside of Japan, Super Mario Brothers The Lost Levels, which is actually the original Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan. So it redressed all the 8-bit classics with 16-bit graphics and sound, and one or two bits were also flaws with some of the original games have been addressed. And you've got these save files on. It's got battery backup on the cartridge, so, and you've got two different types of control methods. So so if you're used to the NES, you could switch to that. So at the start of the game, Mario's absolutely tiny. If he hits a baddie with anything other than his feet, he will die. And you can bop certain blocks like this, and question blocks sometimes contain power-ups. Getting a magic mushroom turns you into Super Mario, which means you can bash and break bricks like that. And if he takes a hit that would have killed him as normal Mario, he'll just turn back into normal Mario instead of dying straight away. Like that. Now it's worth noting that some pipes you can go down, some you can't. You've just got to try each one. And you have to be in the middle, otherwise it won't work. And you're collecting coins. Every 100 coins you collect gives you an extra life. And if you hold down the dash button, which in the regular controls is the Y button, then you'll be able to move faster. This is sometimes the only way to jump higher or to get across bigger gaps. And when you reach this bit at the end, you'll see a flagpole, and the higher up the flagpole you can get that, the better. I've managed to get it right at the top, so I get maximum points there. I know that's a short level, but it is only the very first one. So we're going underground for this bit. And we've got Goombas here. Notice they added parallax scrolling to the background. As well as the mushroom turning him into Super Mario, you can also get these are coin boxes. If you bop a block and it gives you coins, keep repeatedly bopping it until it no longer gives you any coins. And these are Koopas. You can actually dislodge them from their shells and then kick the shell forward. The idea in the Mario games is that you get differing number of points depending on how an enemy is killed. You can actually, if you're clever, you can actually run after a Koopa shell that you've just kicked and follow it as it takes on one baddie after the next. And if it takes out about 6 or 7 baddies in a run, you get an extra life. However, one thing you have to be very careful of if you do that is that a shell can rebound off a wall and hit you. Then sometimes those shells can be more dangerous than the actual Koopas themselves as a result of that. So you have been warned. Yeah, general consensus: leave no block unbopped, and do bear in mind you do have a time limit in the top right corner. Oh, damn it. These are piranha plants. You do not stamp on those. Only if you're Fire Mario can you take them out. And to become Fire Mario, if you find a flower in your Super Mario, then you collect that and you'll turn into Fire Mario, and the dash button will allow you to throw a fireball. And if you're clever, you can actually go. You can actually get warp zones which take you to other worlds. one thing to bear in mind is that the mushrooms always go to the right when they're bopped out of the block containing them. At least in this game. And the more enemies you can jump on without touching the ground, the more points you get. See, I've got a whole slew of points there because I followed that shell. Yeah, and also Super Mario can duck like that just by pressing down on the controller. Oh, that was close. Those are beanstalks. Though sometimes they just take you to coin heaven. Sometimes they can, and other times they can lead to other surprises. But whatever happens, you should be able to get a whole slew of coins and potentially get extra lives. And then when it's all done, you just fall off and fall back to earth. Another coin box. And because that sound just then is because I've got another life. Because the reason being I managed to get 100. No, I don't really want to pop that because otherwise I'll send it flying. Springboards, you have to press jump on them when they're at their. Didn't quite get top there. That's why I only got 2,000 points instead of 5,000. Yeah, springboards. Ideally, you want to press and hold jump the moment that the springboard is fully compressed to get the most out of them. And these are underwater stages. You have to counteract your you gradually sink unless you counteract with the jump button, which is how you swim in these sections. You don't have to worry about drowning. There's no need to worry about whether or not you'll run out of air. You can't jump on anything here, so the only way you'd ever be able to attack enemies in these sections is if you were Fire Mario or Fire Luigi if you were having a two-player mode. Because in two-player it's sequential to two-player, and player 1 would be controlling Mario and player 2 would be controlling his brother Luigi. But even in these water sections, if you take a hit as Super Mario or Fire Mario, you just become normal Mario. Got the top of that flag just then. Now I'm going to quit out and select another game because this is a review. So now this is the real sequel to the first Super Mario Brothers. Previously, it was only available on the Famicom, which is what they called the NES in Japan. Now in this, it's one player only, and you can either be Mario or Luigi. Unlike the previous game, in which both Mario and Luigi had the same skills as each other, in this one, Luigi can jump higher and further than Mario, but his momentum is far worse. So the two are different, and there are some other bits and bobs that like you saw in that demo mode. A poison mushroom, you don't want to touch those. And another thing you'll notice is that unlike the previous game, this game is a lot harder. But this was touted as being for super players. There's that poison mushroom I just mentioned. As I said, I must avoid that at all costs. Do not touch it at all. That's a 1-up mushroom, the green one. You'll definitely be glad of that in this. And you got the flying Koopas in this. If you jump on them, they turn into regular Koopas and work exactly the same as before. Another coin box. And note that you can actually run across gaps like that. See, like I was saying earlier, you have to be really careful of potentially having a Koopa shell rebound. Luckily, I was not normal Mario, otherwise that would have killed me. Not that it mattered anyway, because I missed that jump. Notice that even in the lost levels, I didn't go back to the start when I died. See, like that. If a rebounding Koopa shell hits you in your normal Mario, you die. So be very careful with those shells, especially in the lost levels. Oh God. So what Super Mario Brothers Lost Levels is basically a version of Super Mario Brothers, which is for expert players and has a difficulty level to match. Some of the bits really are incredibly harsh. And you still have some pipes you can go down, but be warned, it's possible to go down a pipe and it actually hinder your progress in differing ways. The flagpoles work exactly the same way as before. However, because the Lost Levels is so much harder than its predecessor, rather than being able to save on this cartridge at the start of each world, you can save after each individual stage within a world. Yeah. As you notice, the music and sound effects are pretty much the same as in the other version. Well, it is essentially the other version. See what I mean? Look how hard it's getting already. Nope. Well, since this is my last life, I may as well continue with this for this section of the review. That makes you invincible for a brief period. You can touch piranha plants while they're like that, but you can still die if you fall off the bottom of the screen. Right. Now let's go on to the next title. Now we have Super Mario Brothers 2, aka Super Mario USA in Japan, because the game I've just reviewed is their sequel. Now, the reason that Super Mario Brothers 2 is so different from what you just saw is because Nintendo of America had a problem with the real sequel being too similar and to its predecessor and too difficult to be marketable in the United States. So what they did is reskinned a game called Doki Doki Panic, and this is a bit of an anomaly in the franchise because the mechanics work very differently to what you're used to. So you actually pick things up out of the ground and use those as weapons, and baddies don't die if you jump on them, unlike the other games. And you actually start off as Super Mario in this, and the rules about about how you take a hit are exactly the same. You'll turn into normal Mario if you take a hit now. And if you pick up a bottle like that, you can get all sorts of different power-ups, and you've got hit points on the left there. Even though this is very different to the other Mario games, some of the baddies from it did actually effectively become part of the regular Mario canon. Yeah, as I said, this is a bit of an anomaly, and it does somewhat polarize people who are fans of the other games in the series, because it's so different. And everything about it just works so differently to what they might have been used to previously. The smart bomb, effectively, those POW things. Yeah. But another thing that's different about this is you can actually choose one of 4 different characters, at least once you get past the first the first bits. You can actually choose to be either Mario, Luigi, Toad, or Princess. With regards to those doors that leave those jars that leave doors, it's just luck of the draw where you put them in as to what you get. Ideally, you want to have it where there's lots of things you can pull out of the ground, because it'll be effectively be a reverse of what you've seen if it has the effect that you just had. Because what I was doing just then was effectively on a reverse version of this what was outside before I went through the door. One thing I don't like about this is the push scrolling for vertical. I don't know why it has to be like that. It just looks ugly, and it makes it feel even less like a Mario game, which, if you think about it, wasn't originally. Oh, nearly took a hit there. So, as I was saying, you can as well as being Mario, you can also be Luigi, Toad, or the Princess, and they all have differing abilities as well. This is Ostro. What you want to do is throw eggs, the eggs that she spits out at her. So you sort of jump up and try and time your jump so you land on the egg that she spits out, and then pick it up and then throw it at her. And then you pick it up, and then you'll be able to go through the bird's head that you see there. And then you get this bonus chance. You can probably guess what you're trying to do here, and I've completely flubbed it. And I didn't that time. I've got one more chance. Yeah. Oh, got one up. Can't sniff at that. This is my last chance before it goes back to the game. Yeah. Got quite a few So this was telling about you can be Mario, Luigi, Toad, or Princess. One thing about Luigi can jump a lot further and has a slower jump mechanism than Mario, and Princess can actually hover in midair for a short time. That can actually be quite helpful. It's almost if you see a flying enemy on a flying carpet, if you dislodge the enemy that's on it, you can actually use it for your own enjoyment. But bear in mind, it does wear off after a bit, so don't dawdle while you're on it. Get that one, it's too close to the edge of the screen. Oh. So I took a hit there, so I can only take one more hit, and then oh no, is it the hits I've taken are shown in the top left corner. I say that I've got one now. I've only got 1 heart's worth of health left. One more hit, and I'm a goner. You can actually go inside these vases, so which is probably good just as well, because if you don't, you won't get the key to that door. Now I'm going to show you what Luigi's like. Then I'll show you what Toad's like. Then I'll end end this section of the review, and then go on to Super Mario Brothers 3. See, look at. See, yeah, he jumps quite differently to Mario. Oh darn it! That wasn't very good. Luckily, if you hang around long enough, then you get another one of those, because you absolutely must have that magic carpet, or you can't get across that gap on the right. Oh, took a hit there and fell right through that for some reason. Even though Luigi has a pretty lengthy jump, it's not long enough that you can just put it there so I can get all 3 of those. Get that key from in here. Oh, darn it. Oh, definitely won that. Well, oh, this is what you need the bombs for, so you can blast through here. But obviously don't stand too close to the bombs, because you might get caught in the blast yourself, and that wouldn't be good. Now I'll show you what Toad's like. Obviously, in the original Doki Doki Panic, on which this is based, these characters were very different and had no relevance whatsoever to the Mario universe. As I said, this is Super Mario USA, aka Super Mario Brothers 2, in this particular instance, is a reskin of Doki Doki Panic with Mario-related characters instead of the ones that were in the game originally. See, I took a hit there. I couldn't get that bomb to. Well, that was useless. And it scrolls both ways, unlike the previous games. And you can still sprint exactly the same way as in the other games, but obviously not if you're carrying anything. Respawning enemies, that's a bit of a bind. Right, I'm going to quit out of this since you've seen pretty much what Super Mario Brothers 2 has to offer to a certain extent. Now to show you Super Mario Brothers 3. which is the fourth and final game on this compilation. This is back to a proper bona fide Mario game, not just reskinned one like the game I just showed you was. And there's some new power-ups in this, including Raccoon Mario, which you're seeing there. Again, it's gone back to sequential, not a two-player if you have that. Other than that, basically the controls are exactly the same for Mario and Luigi once again. However, one thing that has changed in this is that whether or not a mushroom like that goes right or left depends on which side of the block you bopped it from. If you bop the block on the right, the mushroom goes to the left, and vice versa. And another thing that this game introduces is the ability to pick up Koopa shells and kick them. And these feathers turn you into Raccoon Mario. Now, darn it, what Raccoon Mario can do is that if he builds up enough speed via that meter just above where my score is, it won't work here because I don't have the raccoon suit, but once you reach full pelt, you can actually repeatedly mash the jump button in order to fly. And the way this works is you can only get to later stages if you actually complete the stage prior to it. Although one thing to note is that if you're in two-player mode and you actually occupy the area on the select on the area where the other player is, then it will be simultaneous play as you try and battle each other to nick each other's power-ups. Such cooperation, eh? Right, now I'm going to show you that ability to use the raccoon suit powered up fully, and I'm just mashing the jump button. And also while you're doing that, as you descend, you can repeatedly mash the jump button to gradually hover. You can also take out piranha plants, and you can also do a spin like that with the dash button in order to hit an enemy or other things right next to you. And once you get to the end there, you just grab whatever card you can get out of that. You see in the bottom right corner that star I've just collected at the end of that stage has been added to the 3 slots. Once you've collected 3 such cards, you're guaranteed to get an extra life. However, if you collect all of the 3 of the same symbol, you can get differing numbers of lives. If you get all 3 of them as mushrooms, you get 2 lives. All 3 as flowers gives you 3 lives. All 3 as stars gives you 5 extra lives. Ideally, you want to try and go for stars, but even if you get a mixture, you're still going to get 1 extra life. So on slopes like that, you can press down and hold down and slide into enemies like that. That didn't have any effect because I was already Raccoon Mario. And you can also do that raccoon tail spin in midair like I just did there. And those P buttons turn all coins into blocks and all blocks into coins. Names. And as you noticed, I took a hit as Raccoon Mario and just turned back into Super Mario. I can't fly anymore, but at least I didn't turn back into normal Mario like I would have done had I taken a hit as anything more powerful than Super Mario in the previous games. These note blocks are super springy, a bit like the springboards in the first game. If you manage to press jump when they're fully lowered, then then they become super springy, and I just missed that. I can't get that now. You can still duck like that on them. Yeah. See, I've got a flower there, so I'm not going to get a 5 up because I needed to get all 3 of them. Now here, because I've got the choice there, I can actually choose to go to 3, 3 or this or 4. That toadstool house to the right of 4 is actually where you can pick up one, where you can visit Toad and get an item from him that can help you in your quest. These spade panels are where you can actually line up pictures and try and get a bonus of some kind. So I've got to try and get to complete a Starman, and I did. The number of lives you get is exactly the same as if you got 3 of the symbols shown. So because I got perfectly lined up a star, I got 5 extra lives. And these castles are where different more powerful members of the Koopa clan hang out. That's one thing I was trying to get in the first game, but I couldn't. Picking up a flower turns you into Fire Mario, and you can throw them fireballs by pressing the dash button. And you can even kill piranha plants with those things, so they are handy. This is Dry Bones. If you bop it at him, he'll stay as a pile of bones, but eventually he'll come back and start wandering on his merry little way again. Obviously you have to be a bit careful here. Spikes don't kill you instantly, but here, if you're anything other than normal Mario, you have to duck. Oh no, you don't. I thought it was going to come down a bit lower than. And just a case of bopping these enough times to defeat them. 3 usually. Now they're not all as easy as that. Some of the later ones have extra abilities that one didn't have. So don't go thinking that they're all going to be that easy. They're not. And once you've completed a castle, it also unlocks certain aspects. Like, you remember there was a brick between these 2 bits, which is no longer there now because I defeated the Koopa in that castle. So I think I'm going to wind up with the review now. So that's Super Mario All-Stars for the Super Nintendo. It's also known as the Super Mario Collection in its original Japanese version, aka Super Mario Collection, and it's a compilation of 4 essentially a bit like HD versions of previous classics from the previous generation of the Nintendo consoles. I know they're not HD, but they are essentially remasters, and they've been given 16-bit graphics and sound to bring them into the then modern era. And getting classics like that in one cartridge was really quite something. Because you were effectively getting 4 games for the price of just 1. So because most of them are cast iron classics, it was a pretty good deal, and I'm not surprised that it got raved about in the magazines back when it first came out. I believe it came out in the UK in 1994. Obviously, there's a bit of a delay because it all had to be translated from Japanese into English for the Western market. But so graphics, they're obviously they're not going to be mind blowing. Mind blowing, but they're certainly not terrible, and they got the nice cartoony look to them, despite having a rounded 16-bit look about them that's quite charming. So. And they're fairly well animated, especially when you get to super versions of the characters at least, and then the animations are even better. Sound effects, yeah, they're suitable. Anyone who played Super Mario World, which was actually released as one of the flagship titles of the Super Nintendo, will recognise the basic sound effects as being the same as in that. So the fact they've been used here again is not a prohibitive factor, really. They do their job, and they suit the overall environment, so that's fine as well. And the music's been revamped from its 8-bit origins. And I actually saw a video about these revamps that showed that some 1 or 2 bits that were potentially a problem that could have left a player stuck were fixed in the new versions. So that's also good that Nintendo addressed a problem that was in the previous versions in some parts of the games. I mean, admittedly, the first game is going to seem pretty basic now, but for someone who's only just starting in the Mario universe for whatever reason, that's good enough a place as any to introduce them and get them used to the bare bones of how pretty much every 2D Mario game works, and it's fine. And the lost levels, be warned, I've actually played through all the levels previously, and some bits are incredibly harsh. It will test your patience to the limit. Some bits will just have you tearing your hair out in frustration. But hopefully you will eventually get through it. And Super Mario Brothers 2, as in the one that's known as Super Mario USA in Japan, that redress of Doki Doki Panic, that's my least favourite of the 4 games in this package, and it doesn't really feel like a Mario game to me, and in truth, it wasn't originally, as I said earlier. I mean, I particularly dislike the push scrolling for vertical movement. I don't know why it couldn't have all just been smooth throughout. I mean, maybe it was like that in Doki Doki Panic as well, but I'm kind of surprised that they kept that aspect of it and didn't make it all smooth throughout to make it look a bit more like a Mario game. I mean, they've taken the trouble to redo all 4 of the characters in the game, so yeah, and it's also a little bit weird compared to the others, but it's still worth giving it a look, and you'll probably, although it's probably the one you're least likely to come back to once you've completed it because it's so different. And Super Mario Brothers 3 is an absolute masterpiece. It expands on everything that made the first game so great, and adds some extra little bits and bobs of its own, some of which were reused in Super Mario World, which is the sequel to Super Mario Brothers 3, in fact, such as being able to hold on to a Koopa shell and being able to kick it at enemies or blocks, so forth, like you saw me do. And collectively, I'm going to give Super Mario All-Stars 9 out of 10. Although I'm not massively keen on Super Mario Brothers 2, as in the reskin of Doki Doki Panic, I don't mind it being a part of this collection, and and the quality, everything else around it is enough to lift the entire thing above a painful threshold of a noticeably lower score. So 9 out of 10 for this. It's still fun to play, and the games give you loads to do, and particularly in Super Mario Bros. 3 there are loads of secret bits if you know where to look. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope to catch you all on another video soon. Texie88 out.